So today there's a lot of CD Projekt Red news worth looking at, both in terms of Cyberpunk 2077 as well as The Witcher. Let's just dive right into it. First things first, Cyberpunk. So there's a Twitter user going by the name Nibel here who tweets out a lot of video game news, and he brought to light the fact that there might actually be 3 Cyberpunk-related titles at work right now. And this information comes from a Polish website called bankier.pl. Apparently, CD Projekt Red is working on the core game proper, a next big game that is apparently big and innovative, and then finally a rumored standalone Cyberpunk multiplayer game. Let's go to the article itself. This has been translated by Google, so it may not be 100% accurate, but Google's been pretty good with Polish translation, so it's close enough where you get an idea for what the article is saying. So, first things first, this paragraph right here, you can see 2 things. One, apparently CD Projekt Red's actually pretty damn happy with current pre-sales for Cyberpunk. It says right here, CD Projekt is much happier with the pre-sale game Cyberpunk 2077 than it did in the case of The Witcher 3. In other words, it seems as though, numbers-wise, Cyberpunk is surpassing Witcher 3 in terms of sales. Now, CD Projekt Red president expressed that while they are much happier with Cyberpunk numbers, they also want to be careful about drawing conclusions. He talked about how pre-sales is just a small statistical sample, meaning that we don't know how Cyberpunk is going to sell over a long period of time. Witcher 3, did really well at launch, but also kept selling copies over time, and that's actually going to be the real test, I think, if people keep buying this game and bolstering its numbers. It would obviously help a lot if the game garnered critical reception, if it, got Game of the Year awards and all of these different things that Witcher 3 got that kept kind of putting it in the limelight, and that allowed that game to keep selling copies over a long period of time. As for CD Projekt Red's plans for the Cyberpunk franchise, it says right here, Kaczynski reported that the studio is currently working on 3 projects related to Cyberpunk 2077, one of which is the basic version of the game. It says right here, we're working on 3 Cyberpunk things over the main game and over 2 more. These are 3 teams. We are also working on Gwent, and we have still unplayed game in company Spocko. So we have 5 working teams, 3 working on Cyberpunk. So one of the teams apparently is about 40 people strong right now, and this team is hard at work on a multiplayer mode for Cyberpunk 2077. Now, this is actually not news. It's been hinted at for a while that this game would feature some kind of multiplayer mode. This is bound to worry some people. Cyberpunk 2077 is advertised as a single-player role-playing experience, so a lot of people are wondering what the hell are they doing building a multiplayer mode. But keep in mind that CD Projekt Red's currently fully focused on delivering a solid core single-player experience. The fact that there's only 40 people working on this multiplayer mode says a lot. It means it's not a big focus. They want to get this core game out there and then build a multiplayer game over time, and once that's ready, then they'll ship it. But it's not a case of them kind of stretching themselves thin by working on both single-player and multiplayer at the same time. The multiplayer team is relatively small, so it's still probably in pre-production stages, and once they ship the core game proper, that's probably when they're going to divert more resources towards this multiplayer mode and flesh it out as much as possible so that it doesn't feel like just some cheap thing they threw in there. And then there is the third project, which Vice President Piotr said that the next CD Projekt game will also be set in the world of Cyberpunk. The CD Projekt strategy assumes the release of another, apart from Cyberpunk 2077, AAA role-playing game until 2021. So for those wondering what that's referring to, if you go to the official CD Projekt Red website, you can find a page called Strategy right here, which lists kind of a roadmap for the company, and there's a segment listing out what the plans are in terms of game release. So 2016, we already know all about this, but from 2017 and 2021, that's where things get interesting. So it lists right here the release of Cyberpunk 2077, but then right here it says release of another AAA RPG title. Seemingly, this is actually also related to Cyberpunk. Now, what is it? Is it a sequel? Is it just like an expansion, a really big expansion? It's probably not going to be something like Gwent, like Cyber Gwent or whatever you want to call it. This is going to be a AAA title. They do say right here they're treating it as a really big and innovative project, whatever that means. So this gives off the sense that it's not just some expansion to the core game. It is an entirely new project, and hard to say what they mean by innovative. Personally speaking, if it's not a Keanu Reeves date sim, I'm out. I don't care what it is. Joking aside, if I had to put my money on it, it's either a sequel or kind of a spin-off where they take the world of Cyberpunk and construct another very different type of game around it. But obviously, right now, anybody's guess is as good as mine. So let us know in the comments below what you think this might be. Alright, so that's Cyberpunk news. Interesting stuff there indeed. Again, feel free to speculate in the comments below what you think this big AAA project slated for before 2021, this guy right here, what it might be. And also let us know what you think about CD Projekt Red working on this Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer mode down the line. Again, it's not detracting from the single player experience. I'm really curious about it personally. I hope it's not like egregiously monetized. I get the sense CD Projekt Red won't do that. They're not that kind of company. I think I first have to play the base game first before getting a feel for what they can do with this foundation and then how they can build upon the single player to create a cool multiplayer experience. But I mean, it's a large open world we're dealing with here, and putting multiple cyberpunks in one place and having them do missions, that seems really compelling to me on a conceptual level. So hopefully the execution of the single player Cyberpunk 2077 will be such that you'll look at it and go, holy shit, I can imagine the multiplayer possibilities. That brings us to the next bit of CD Projekt Red news, though I guess this isn't technically related to CD Projekt. It is Witcher related, but CD Projekt is responsible for the games, whereas Netflix right now is helming a brand new Netflix show based on the Witcher novel. So, first of all, let me show you this teaser. Do you remember this? This was back in October 2018. They showed a screen test of Henry Cavill as Geralt, and for a lot of people, I think it threw them off. It didn't looked off. He looked very elvish. He didn't look quite like the Geralt a lot of people know. And, there was just a lot of mixed feedback surrounding this showcase here. But we have gotten a first look at the Witcher series coming to Netflix as of today. So first things first, we have a front shot of Geralt. This image was posted by Henry Cavill on his Instagram. And as you can see right here, it actually looks way better than what we saw before. The hair is kind of less smooth, it's kind of flowing everywhere. The armor looks pretty good. The sword design is very much akin to what you might expect from The Witcher. And more importantly, his overall physique, his demeanor, his face, it all blends together much better. He's got a scruff going on. He looks much less like the pretty boy we saw in that screen test and much more of that gruff, rough Witcher, the Geralt we know. It's not bad at all, actually. This has me a lot more optimistic. And then there are a couple more images right here. This is another pretty good shot, just with the armor and adding the scruff and just the blend of the different visual elements makes for a much better visual than what we saw here. This just looks off for some reason. Here, it looks good. He looks paler, which helps a lot as well. I think in this old test screen footage, he has this like tan look to him, which is strange. But here he has the right complexion, the right skin tone. The hair looks well implemented. And it looks pretty good. Now, I do want to wait until I see Geralt in motion in a trailer before I make a final judgment. There are times when things look good in still images, but once you see it in motion, it looks kind of meh. And other times the reverse was true, where still images looked pretty rough, but then the show itself, when you see everything in motion, looks pretty damn good. So it's hard to judge anything until I see some kind of trailer. I see how Geralt moves and how he behaves, how he acts. So beyond the design, that's also a key aspect. Here we can also get a look at other characters. This is Yennefer, played by Anya Chalotra. And yeah, she doesn't look exactly like she would in the games. But I'm personally, if I want to experience the game story, I'll play the games. I don't mind Netflix doing kind of their own diverging take on it. Not to mention that this is more based on the novels, so it is going to be different from the games. And Sapkowski, the author of the Witcher series, is involved in this project. He's kind of supervising things. He's kind of acting as a consultant to make sure that things are within his vision. Same thing here, hard to give a full judgment until I see her in action, until I see the actor really kind of playing the role. And last but not least, we have Freya Allan as Ciri. This definitely looks like a younger Ciri. I feel like this Witcher Netflix show definitely takes place in the earlier days. A lot of people noticed how Geralt only seems to have the one sword, which is an important point to note. I think you'll get his second sword, the silver sword, over the course of the show when he has to slay beasts and all that. Oh, and here's one more image of Henry Cavill as Geralt. Again, with the scruff, the more mangled hair, the less smooth skin, it all contributes to a much better looking Geralt than what we saw in this Netflix teaser. Oh, and here's the official poster that was teased by Netflix. So this is a back view. Yeah, just physique-wise, it's actually very close to the games even. We are probably going to see a trailer very soon, so hopefully all the performances, the cinematography, the visuals, all of it kind of forms a very singular Witcher-feeling world that we can immerse ourselves in. I don't know, I'm looking forward to it. I'm wishing the team the best. Fingers crossed this turns out to be a good show. Something else I hope they nail are the special effects. Obviously, monsters are going to be a big deal here. Are they going to be kind of the CGI, kind of underwhelming looking monstrosities, or are they going to go practical? How is all the magic going to look? So, a lot of unknown factors still. But this certainly gives a great first impressions right here, so I'm going to be a bit more optimistic. So yeah, there you have it, folks. These are one man's take on the 3 Cyberpunk games that CD Projekt Red's working on, as well as a first look at the Witcher TV series for Netflix. Let us know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.